Good evening to you, Manqoba. Of course, so the EFF has been discussing its organisational report. Give us more details around that.
181 pages long. That's how long that report is, and they've taken us through that report, of course, touching on issues that while the EFF thinks that it's done well in terms of its growth trajectory, but it however laments the fact that there still is a problem when it comes to by-elections. The party saying that of course it's not doing well in this front, but more than that, it's also had a look of some of the issues that have been for discussion previous to this conference that's taking place here. One of them being the issue of the EFF Student Command, of course, which was an issue that was raised by the President, Julius Malema, during a press briefing where he questioned the existence and the relevance of the Student Command, saying that, there needs to be a look at whether or not the Student Command is needed in the EFF, saying that the EFF was, of course, still at its infancy, in its formation phase, so to speak. So, that was one of the things that came out also of this from this organizational report, the fact that, the party looking at the Student Command and saying that, it was really, very early for them to actually start a Student Command, bearing the fact that, the party was still in its formation phase. And of course, it says, though, that there is no resolution taken at this point. But another issue that cropped up as well, an issue of interest, which has also been a matter of somehow discussion prior to this conference, is the issue of whether or not the EFF needs a student command, not a student command, I beg you, Shante, but rather a women's command. Of course, there's been talk that there's very strong women in the EFF, and some of the candidates will be very likely good leaders within the EFF's women command. So the party is saying that, of course, it is reviewing this issue. There is conceptual papers that it's currently working on, but it's saying at this stage that is not going to happen, but it will happen or will be launched if needs be at an appropriate time. So those are some of the issues that were touched on that were of importance in this organizational report.
Essentially, Manqoba, we understand that the nominations are only going to be taking place at a later stage. When essentially are the delegates going to be elected?
Well, Shante, the understanding that we have at the moment is that, the nominations will likely be done, after 10 o'clock or closer to midnight. That's the estimation that Mbuyiseni Ndlozi has given us at this point. So it seems like we're still a long way to see those nominations, but of course they say that they will happen today. We do know that, the top 6 will be elected, the Central Command team, and after that, the current Central Command team that is there at the moment will cease to exist. So that will be disbanded from that point. And therefore, it's important for the party to do these nominations today. They say even if we leave at 3 a.m. in the morning, that will have to be done today because the voting will have to go on after that. And of course, the party expected to announce its leaders tomorrow. But just to touch on some of the nominations that we've heard, of course, we do expect the president of the EFF, Julius Malema, to retain his position as the president. And of course, they are also, or speculation is rife that Floyd Shivambu, who is the current deputy president, will also retain his position. But of course, there is talk that Dali Mpofu is likely to also contest the deputy presidency of the EFF, but where that will go, we're not sure. We do know that there's a threshold that's required for one to do that, which is 30%. And whether he'll meet that 30% threshold is something that will remain to be seen at this stage when those nominations finally take place. We do also understand that the position of Secretary General, that of Godriff Gardee, is also going to be vacated, and that Marshall Dlamini, who is a parliamentarian and also one of the EFF commissars from KwaZulu-Natal, has been tipped to take over as the Secretary General of the party. The Deputy Secretary General also being tipped to be taken over by Poppy Mailula, who is also a parliamentarian of the EFF, and also Dali Mpofu's position as National Chairperson of the EFF. We do have a word that he's going to be replaced by an MP, Veronica Mente, as well. And so the Treasurer General also, Leanne Mathay, is also expected to be booted out at this conference, and that position is said to be will be taken by Umphile Maetwa, who's also been said to be very close to the Commander-in-Chief. So those are some of the nominations at this point, but of course we yet to see what the final nominations will be and whether there will be contestation on those positions. The EFF leader Julius Malema has indicated that all of these positions are up for contestation. So it's a wait and see at this point, Shante.
It is a wait and see. With that being said, we're going to leave it there. SABC reporter Manqoba Mchunu for SABC News on the ground.